Hello, parents, and welcome to your flipped back to school night lecture. I really apologize for not being able to be there this evening, but hopefully having this recorded information on the internet will actually be more beneficial for you. But I really hope I get to meet some of you throughout the year. So first of all, my name is Krista Myers. I am your AP Psychology instructor for the spring. I also taught it in the fall, and my contact information is there on the screen. But kmyers@rjuhsd.us. I am an S101 the entire semester. If you'd like to call the school, I'll actually type that in here right now for you. But I am in room S101 if you'd like to come by and visit. I am here all classes during the day. All right, so I'm going to go through the PowerPoint that I usually do at back to school night. Again, I apologize. We have a family emergency and I will be out of state this evening. So I'd like you guys to take just a minute and I want you to read through this paragraph. Okay, so if you need to pause your screen, but what I'd like you to do is just take a minute, pause your screen, and read through the paragraph. And I want you to know that the third day of school, I asked the students to memorize this paragraph without any background information, and we talk about some study skills. But go ahead and pause your screen, so stop, and read through the paragraph. Okay, so hopefully you've unpaused. So what I do is I ask the kids to memorize this paragraph, and they do a really good job actually, and they can tell me the procedures. I ask them, tell me the procedures of this making sense paragraph. So what is a person supposed to do, and what are some rules, what are they not supposed to do, and some caveats and situations that can occur. And they actually are really good at memorizing something that they don't understand. And then I tell them that this is a paragraph about how to do your laundry. Okay, so if you'd like to pause it again and reread it through. And usually in the room there's a bunch of ohs. And what I make this point at the beginning of the year, that there's a very big difference between memorizing something and being able to tell you a procedure or some content and really understanding it. And just because you do have it memorized does not mean that you understand it. But how important it is for the sense making and making memories to really understand what you are learning. If you skip that first important step of even knowing what you're learning about, everything that comes after is more and more meaningless, if that makes sense. So I start out the year with giving them this laundry list lecture and talk about the importance of being able to learn something long term. That if you just try and remember something once, you might be able to spit it back out on a test, but that is not my goal as a teacher. It's not my goal in this course. I really want them to remember it for a long time. Okay, so is another thing I show the students that I like to show my parents is I work closely with some of the professors at Sac State, and they have a poster all around Sac State that talks about what a committed student would be. I have only juniors and seniors in this AP Psychology class, and a lot of the times we're talking about taking those transition steps from a high school class to college. This is an AP course, so they get college credit for it, but I don't think that it's appropriate to teach an 11th or 12th grade class at the collegiate level because they're not in college yet. All right, that's how the learning process works, is that we build up a little each year. By the time they leave my class at the end of the year, I'm hoping that they have the skills they need to survive in college and to do well in college without me here. At the beginning of the year, we take some baby steps, and I like to build those skills with the foundation and then moving forward so that when they get to college or long term, in the future, they're able to take away more from my class than just facts, all right? And even though psychology is very interesting and we do have a fun time, I want them to learn skills as well. So here's a poster if you'd like to see it. It talks about what a college student would look like. So if you look down here, it has a list of what a committed student would be. Okay, and there's some interesting just kind of procedural things that, like, a student must study 25 hours a week, work less than 20, attend every class. But then there's also things like go to class prepared. When we talk about bringing your supplies, if a teacher asked you to read a chapter before, being prepared for class does not always necessarily mean pen and paper. It means being prepared to know what you're going to learn about. If you've primed yourself a little bit to know what the teacher's going to lecture about, you're already ahead of the game, right? You've already know that you're learning a laundry procedure versus a student that walked in that didn't know what was happening in class that day wouldn't have that preparation. Rewriting class notes within 24 hours, when I tell students that, they're like, what? rewrite all my notes. We're going to talk about how I like them to divide their notes so that's not necessary to rewrite, but there's still some interaction. Entering all assignments in a planner. I use a remind system through their cell phone that I'll show you later, but I advocate that students, without me, program things into their phones and help make technology useful instead of just a distraction. Participate in study groups. If you went to college or even in our everyday jobs, we work with people and in groups. And a lot of the times teachers or professors assume that people know how to work in groups. And again, that is a learned skill. That is something we learned at a young age that needs to be practiced and needs to be talked about to really make perfect. And if you're working in groups in college to help you learn material, you need to know what to do within a group to really make that the biggest bang for your buck. We work in groups every single day in this class. There's not a single day except for maybe test day that we don't work in a group. And I really practice, what does it look like to have a conversation? What should you do when you divide up work? How do we keep each other accountable? And then this is my favorite one down here for the college, is to seek help when needed. College professors are very, they're discouraged with the amount of students that come and ask for help. And so we talk about in class why that is. Is it because students are afraid that they are supposed to be smart so they don't ask for help? But really understanding when to ask for help and when it is okay to be confused. All right, so that's a poster I share with the students that I also like to show parents. I flip the classroom, so if you're watching this right now, you are experiencing what your child might experience every single night with a flipped lecture. So the reason why I choose to flip AP Psychology is definitely, it's not on the screen here, it's time that we're adding to the course, and it's also freeing up time in class. So if you ever like to watch the lectures or how you get to the lectures is on YouTube, and you are here right now on my YouTube channel for Krista Myers. All my lectures are posted. The main reasoning behind the flipped classroom is that students do not need me in the room to take notes. And as a teacher, I've always found it very boring. Even though it's absolutely necessary to deliver content, it is very boring to watch students write down things, especially for 30 minutes. It is also a very self-paced, or it should be a self-paced skill. If students want to write the information first, then go back and listen to the information again or rewatch it, that should be their choice. If they want to start a lecture in one place and end it someplace else, this is a self-paced, very individualized way of receiving information for the first time. It's very important to understand it the first time, as we referred to in that laundry list, to really understand the content. Again, it frees up a ton of time in class to do very fun activities throughout the year, more labs, but also that group work that I talked about. So what that you have your notes written? What are we going to do now that you have them? How are we going to actually learn the content? Because writing does not equal learning. We also study in class. I teach study skills, and because there is a writing component to the AP course, I also teach writing practice, and we peer edit and do a lot of group writing in class. So here's an example. So say that you took these notes. What a student or your child would do the next day is they come to class with their notes, and they divide their notes into margins. Okay, so you can see to the side over here, I'll actually draw it for you. What I have or I advocate that students do is when they're taking their notes at home, if this is my page, they need to leave some type of margin for me. And I don't care where that is. But what they do at home is they write all their information from the lecture here. Right, so that's done at home outside of class. And then here is where we do our tutorials. This, I think, gets rid of that step where you have to rewrite your notes within 24 hours. As long as there's a separate place on your notes where we can really talk about, here's what the teacher said, now here's what I did with it in class, that makes your notes more meaningful. I also have students check off on the top of their notes how many times they've looked at their notes, so you might see checks on their notes. That's kind of their way of taking track of, I've looked at these notes 2 times versus 10 times. All right, so in class, they come with their notes, this part done, and then they do all this with a group over here. So I have them look at their textbooks to add information. I ask them questions. I have them ask me questions about some type of misunderstandings or something that they need more explanation on, and then I have the peer tutoring going on. So I think the best way of learning is to actually teach. The reason why we are so good at, or teachers are know so much about their content, is because we have repeated the content for years, right? And 6 times a day sometimes to classes. So if your child is able to explain a concept to another student, that is much more powerful for the teacher than it is sometimes for the learner. And then again, we're able to do those group activities. So that's an example of what they do in class. Some study tools that you should be aware of at home. Quizlet I use for vocabulary. It's Quizlet.com. There's another video on how to Quizlet. And then Science Login is where the students take all their quizzes. You're welcome to check out those websites. Remind 101 is the text reminder I referenced to earlier. This is a way for me to be in contact with the students without them having my number and me having their number. So you can also join this list, and what you would do is you text in @Spring PS to this number. It's an internet number, and I send out reminders for homework, for tests, any big projects we have coming up. And again, I'm hoping that students, if they find this is helpful for them, they are able to do this without me when they leave my class. And just a little bit about the AP exam. Our AP exam is Monday, May 5th. We're the first day. The multiple choice takes up 70% of the test, and I really emphasize knowing the content. I'll talk about that in just a second. The writing portion makes up 30%. I do expect all students who take the course to take the class. I think that is why they are taking it. It is a great AP exam to take, especially if it's the first one, because it slowly, like I said, takes that high school student to that collegiate level in the timed type of fashion. AP Psych in some state schools and a couple UCs actually counts for 2 psych classes at the collegiate level. So you can actually save a lot of money. You're talking thousands of dollars by paying that $80. And there are some fee waivers available. If you're interested, please email me. I do want to talk about why I make kids retake class quizzes. So I advocate the mastery system for content, meaning that if you see a blank grade in a quiz, it doesn't necessarily mean that the student didn't take the quiz. It means that they did not receive an 80% on the quiz. So I only record mastery when a student has mastered that content. That is taken in class, but there's also those practice quizzes available I told you about on Science Login. And if you ever have any questions on why more mastery, if you have more questions about that, or why there's a missing grade, do let me know. Sorry, let me go back one. I do advocate that the students are more responsible for their grades than the parents, but I am a parent as well, and I understand that if you need to check in with me, you need to do that. Future folders in class, we check grades at least once a week. You should know that. We talk about college aspirations and the course selections for college and when they go off to be a senior if I have you as a junior. All right. And as I mentioned, I just want to let you know I end my back to school night with telling my parents that I am a mother too. Here are my babies. They're actually a year older than this right now. But that's how I treat my students is when my kids are not with me during the day, I expect the person that they are with to be giving them the best of the best and to be treating them like they are their kids, meaning that it is not a parent responsibility or a teacher responsibility. It's a universal responsibility to make sure that these young children are educated and ready to go out into the world. And with that being said, I understand that these are your babies that are now grown up, and you can email me, call me anytime, come by to class anytime you want, so that I know that you are just making sure that your kids get the best education. Again, I'll go back to the front screen if you need that, but you can rewind. My name is Krista Myers, and that is my contact information. I do hope you have a great evening and that we have a lot of success this semester in AP Psych. Thank you.